G'day guys, Adam Kogan here from SSW TV. I'm with the SSW TV Ask Me Anything booth at this great NDC conference in Sydney. And I'm here with John Galloway. How are you, John?
Hello, yeah, doing great.
Last time we saw you was in Norway at NDC.
That's right.
Awesome. And you are doing great things with Microsoft.
Yeah, keep them busy.
The ASP.NET team. Yeah. Tell us what you do.
So I'm actually a tech evangelist at Microsoft. I'm not in the ASP.NET team, but I'm in the DX team, which is developer experience. And a lot of the job of DX is to kind of help developers have a good time building with Microsoft products. So it's communication. It's also like if there's things where the community is frustrated or needs more information or stuff, then I can feed that back to the product team and say hey, you guys need more documentation on this, or how can we help people, or that kind of thing. So
awesome.
It's a lot of fun. I love it. And I always kind of think of what I'm doing as sort of an MVP, or I always bring the perspective of I'm a consumer too. I want to use, for instance, ASP.NET or Azure or whatever. I want to use it. I want to love it, and I love building software. And so it's fun to get all the newest bits and try them out and say hey, could we do better here or whatever.
So how the hell did Microsoft go from where they were to giving us ASP.NET Core that will run on Linux?
It's crazy, right?
That a certain day that happened?
I remember the day where I was up visiting, because I actually work remotely. I work from California, and I was up visiting, and I stopped in, checked in with Scott Hunter, and he's like, hey, here's something we're working on, don't tell anyone. We're just kind of, and I remember thinking at the time, that'll never fly. It's a great idea. I love the idea, but they'll never get permission. They can't do that, So it's great. I mean, it makes sense, for Microsoft as a business, because Azure is a great place to deploy stuff. Obviously there's kind of if you can run it anywhere, you might run it somewhere outside of Microsoft ecosystem, but we're going to make sure it's going to run great on Microsoft, on Azure, on Windows, and everything. And it makes being a Microsoft developer a great place to be. Technically, it's really cool how they did it too. There's even things with these kind of roots of Silverlight, the Silverlight runtime being this tiny runtime that could run .NET.
Topic here. Yes, we try not to.
Oh, okay. Well, but I mean, it's interesting that it's the roots of that still living on, and so this tiny lightweight cross-platform runtime, and it's I don't know. I'm still kind of shocked it's happened. Right. But it's fun.
Yeah, that's amazing. I always remember the first time I went to Scott Guthrie. I was actually walking in Darling Harbour, and I had him. We went on a bit of a walk, and I was asking him for something that I really wanted. And he basically described to me Silverlight was coming and was going to answer it. It wasn't exactly what I was hoping for in the description, but I got it. At least I got that's how he's going to answer it. So when Silverlight came out, about 8 months later, it was, I'd heard it, and I reconciled the conversation. Yeah. So I just got to give you a little bit of feedback on the way that we got ASP.NET Core.
Sure.
In the beta, we got the beta. Us as a company at SSW, we assumed that meant it was being released with Visual Studio 2015.
Right.
And we kind of oversold a couple of customers on it, and we went in early because we often will go in with the beta if it's going to ship shortly.
Right.
But anyway, it's been a bit of a longer journey, but we got there, and we in production.
It's a tough problem, and I'm not a developer on the team, but I can't take credit for all the work they did, but it's a huge amount of work to build a cross-platform system. And there was a lot of thing of this is the chance to build something for the next 10 years, And so there are some tough decisions where it's wow, as people are using it, they're seeing this is hard to use, or this could be better. And if we wait till version 2 and ship it, we break all this, so it is tough. There are also things with, merging with Xamarin, the .NET team,
a lot of things going on. Wasn't there?
And originally ASP.NET Core originally was DNX. Actually, before that it was Project K, and it was just built for ASP.NET. And then as it became this bigger thing, and the whole .NET team embraced it.
Yes.
Then that required some kind of wait a minute, if we're going to do this so that it's not just for web apps, but it could be used for other types of applications. then we need to kind of take some steps back and do it the right way. So
that totally makes sense now. Yeah,
it does. But I remember talking to people, and there were times where people were saying, like, well, we're going to be ready before Visual Studio 2015 ships. So what are we going to do? Extra features we'll build, and then it kept shipping, and then Visual Studio 2015 shipped, and then it kept going on. So
all right.
it's hard.
So you're talking here at NDC on ASP.NET Core.
Yeah.
Tell us the guts of it.
Well, so I did a 2-day workshop, first of all, with Damien and Scott Hanselman, and then I did a talk yesterday with Damien on Kestrel, which is the web server, the high-performance cross-platform web server. And so they actually did this talk at NDC Oslo.
Yes. Sorry, my head's still spinning from that talk.
Damien and David. And
you made me feel stupid.
Well, I wasn't at that talk in Oslo, but I watched it over and over again. I'm like, this is the best thing ever. It really does kind of make you feel stupid. I thought I needed to grow a beard so I would be get some computer science skills, because most computer scientists have big beards.
Damien doesn't pull it off. He looks too young.
So that was a lot of fun. What we did for this talk was we added in some code demos, and so I added in a GC visualizer and stuff to show the effects of if the memory is inefficient, we allocate a bunch of strings, then that causes garbage collection, which then you can immediately see the requests per second dropping off. So a lot of it is just super fun. You wouldn't really do these sorts of things in most of your applications, but it's interesting still to understand about that.
So dropping back to ASP.NET Core, what were some of the key parts that you talk about that developers will care about?
Yeah.
Because they're going to make the decision, even if they're still shipping to Windows servers, which many of them are, should I be taking the pain, because it is a bit of pain, doing ASP.NET Core? Can you just help on that decision-making process?
And that's really great to talk about, because .NET Core is cross-platform, but ASP.NET Core will run on .NET Core or the full framework. And so you do have the ability to still run on the full framework if you want the features of ASP.NET Core, but you need APIs that are in the full framework and not .NET Core, you can do that, right? So that's important. There are a huge amount of features that, there's almost too many to, really cool ones slip through the cracks. Things like globalization has really been a pain point in ASP.NET for a long time. And it's always something when I speak overseas and people are like, you guys realize not everyone speaks English, and it really has been frustrating over time. And this was a time where it's when you're rebuilding the whole stack, you can bake in localization, right from the get-go. There's all kinds of other things tag helpers are really neat. Middleware is great. The ability to extend things so much more smoothly than you could in the past. So, and I tell people you should be aware that you're not gonna open up your ASP.NET 5 application, or your ASP.NET MVC 5 application and convert it to .NET Core. It's not a super. It really is more thing you can copy code that's in your controllers, models, and views, but a lot of your infrastructure things are going to be different, and project systems different. So I would recommend people look at it as, if you're doing a new project, if you're doing smaller internal thing, try it with that first and get familiar with it before you bet on the big rewrite.
That is a good point. Just try it on small projects, because there is still an argument that we could, it's version 1. You could wait for ASP.NET Core 2 before you get stronger into it. Not every project needs to go to Core right now, just because it's the latest. And
they have published a roadmap for ASP.NET Core 1.1 and time frame, I think end of this year is what they said. I'm not sure on that, but it's out on GitHub and listing some things they're adding in. The thing that I'm happiest to see about that is they are adding some features in, but they're not making breaking changes. They're not already planning oh, here's how we're going to break what we just shipped. So I do feel there's less of a thing where you need to wait for a next big release. I really do feel they kind of delayed as long as possible for that.
And they gave us enough breaking changes.
Exactly. Yes.
But is there a couple of features that you think that are really worth waiting for?
Well, see, as far as worth waiting for, they're just features that are getting added on, so I wouldn't wait for them. But there are some, performance continues to improve. There's some really cool things with middleware and tag helpers. Middleware specifically, they're adding in some neat things for like URL rewriting and for caching and stuff like that, response caching, and they're adding in some more APIs that were, that are not in .NET Core that are in the full framework. More of those APIs are being added in.
Awesome.
So I wouldn't think of it as something like hold off until these features come. I would think of it as if you build apps on this, you're gonna like get some more free stuff pretty soon.
All right. What's the story with Entity Framework?
Entity Framework it's Entity Framework Core. It's the naming on these, it was originally EF7, and they've decided a much more accurate name is EF Core 1 because it's a new thing. That's right.
Is it ready?
So it depends. If the bigger thing with EF Core, it's solving a lot of problems that were not in. That were not solved by EF6 and below. Like it's got support for non-relational databases, in-memory database. It's got support for cross-platform, of course. So those are new things. And then as a trade-off, there are a lot of features that were in EF6 that are not in EF Core, and so those are things like, complex like lazy and eager loading or table hierarchies and stuff. So all that to say, my answer to your question is, it's ready if the features it's got is what you need. Right. So if you've got pretty standard basic use of EF, like MVC application, file new project, I've got identity, I've got that, that all seems to work pretty good. If you have a good amount of experience with Entity Framework and you're using some of the more advanced features, you probably will run into something where you're like, what, you don't have that yet? Geospatial or whatever it is, so, yeah.
Okay. Any fun projects you're doing?
Yeah. So as part of my job, like I love, doing this, going to conferences and learning new things and showing them off and all that. I also get pulled into things on my team from time to time, and one really fun thing I got to do towards the end of last year was there was an application for, it was called mymustache.net. It was for Movember, growing a mustache in November, and so what it would do is it would using Cortana facial APIs, it would grade your mustache. And
sounds cool, and I thought you were going to tell me. All right.
So your picture there, you you could do it on your phone, you could do whatever, and we had some like canned ones if you didn't want it. So you upload it, and then it grades everyone's mustache, and it identifies all the faces and grades and it has bar charts and stuff. So we did all that with SVG and some kind of fun stuff there. And the really fun thing that we kind of as a joke threw in that ended up being the feature a lot of people liked was it could draw a mustache on you because it's got all the measurements of your eyes and your nose and everything. So I would upload a selfie with my daughter and then put a mustache on her, and we had all these canned mustaches. She's got this big loopy mustache, and she laughed for hours about that.
That's awesome. So John, I really like that one because we've been doing a renovation at SSW, and we've got a whole series of guys who want to get on an IoT project, but we need clients to think of good solutions that they need a custom solution done. Yeah. So I came up with an idea. As clients came in, we would use some of the facial recognition and give them a rating. And the guys in the office said, no, we can't grade our clients on how good looking they look.
No,
but anyway.
Unfortunate. You could grade them on their emotions, though. You can how happy they are.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I might take that one back, see if they like it. Well, it's been great chatting to you.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And this is Adam Kogan signing off for SSW TV.
Hey everybody, it's me, Scott Hanselman, here with Adam Kogan at NDC Sydney. We're hanging out. It's SSW Video. How are you, sir? That's how you do an intro. No, go ahead. I'll be right here, please.